We're talking contracts on this morning's Cowboys Report. We will get to DaRon Bland. I want to begin with Micah Parsons, since that one is more pressing. He spoke with reporters at his high school jersey retirement about training camp and his upcoming contract. Overall, the expectation still remains he will be there when the Cowboys report for training. I think technically reporting date is July 20th, but first practice is July 22nd. It is to be determined how much Micah actually does. If he's a full participant, if he's a limited participant, we'll see. He remains confident a deal will get done, which I think most people do. It's just when, which remains the overwhelming question here. And as long as the when is not known, you can get in on our Micah decision pool. Pick the date that Micah Parsons signs, or I guess gets traded, but signs remains the expectation here. Venmo me at WhatGoingDowney, $5 to enter. We'll do a 50-50 split the pot for the winner. Take home's up past 20 right now, and it's going to keep going. So get those entries in at WhatGoingDowney, $5, and of course pick the date that ends up happening. Here's what Micah said on the contract to reporters. I'm not fazed by anything. I'm really trying to do things the right way and let everything play out and see how the cards will be dealt. Things are meant to play out how they're meant to play out. I don't think there's anything you can do to change someone's mind. Things are going to play out the way they will play out, so I try to do things right. Micah's basically alluding to, and he went more in depth on this specifically, and we'll get to it. The deal is going to be a record-setting contract. There's not any doubt that that is what is going to happen here. Micah knows that. His agent knows that. The Cowboys know that. That's why it's so frustrating to me. Everyone involved knows what this deal is going to cost. So why aren't we done? Why don't we have the deal locked in and loaded and set to be the massive contract? It's annoying to me. We'll check in with more Micah quotes here in a minute. We're almost out of time, though, for this question. Will he get paid before training camp? It's less than a week away. It's essentially here right now. So will Micah get paid before camp? Y for yes, N for no. Let me know your predictions in the comment section of today's show. Now, part of his quotes with the media, Micah doesn't seem fazed, bothered by other potential deals to come. The deal already came with Myles Garrett that, reset the market entirely. There are 4 notable edges up for new contracts. Micah with the Cowboys, TJ Watt with the Pittsburgh Steelers. We'll see if Aidan Hutchinson gets done this year or not. Micah alluded to that one too. And Trey Hendrickson. Hutchinson's got just year 3, so he's eligible, but a lot of times those players wait till year 4, which Micah mentioned too. He says he's not bothered by when those guys get paid, what they get paid. Their numbers have nothing to do with mine. My numbers have nothing to do with them, which I actually don't really agree with. And Micah also kind of contradicted himself with the TJ Watt deal. He says, I'm younger than Hendrickson. Hutchinson's coming off an injury. Everyone's circumstances is completely different. Hutch coming off his 3rd year. Guys usually wait 4 years. It all depends. Watt, he's up there with Myles. But it's different. Everyone's circumstances are different. I'm trying to get mine no matter what. You know what I mean? Like, the markets change every year. Like, the salary cap went up like another 18% this year. So you want to know the contracts, all the contracts based off the percentage. Each player, a high-paid player, takes the cap. It's not really the number. It goes off by the salary cap. So first off, that might as well be David Mulgeta projecting his voice through Micah Parsons. Like, that's pure agent speak. Of note, 18% number is not right. He doubled it. It was like 9% salary cap growth. But that 9 to 12 to 13% has been pretty accurate. It's been a steadily rising salary cap. And a lot of times what these top-end players do is, if you do Myles Garrett this year and then you do Micah next year, well, the cap went up 9%. He should be getting a 9% raise over what Myles Garrett got. That's what Micah Parsons is referring to, which you are, if you are the Cowboys, you are not letting that one wait. You are going to do that one now to not have to pay the extra premium next offseason. Still a lot more to come on today's show, but this Cowboys hoodie is still on sale. It was 55%, or $55. Now it is $33. It's not something you're going to want to wear right now in mid-July, but into October, perfect. So stock your wardrobe early. Link will be in the comment section and the description of today's show. It's chatsports.com/DAL hoodie. When it comes to Micah in general here and where things sit, Micah Parsons continues to say most of the right things, and I think, frankly, win the PR battle that oftentimes comes along with these mega record-setting contract extensions. I think this generation of players, too, has a better feel for the salary cap. You've seen what, like, Joe Burrow has a good feel for it. Micah's got a decent feel for it as well. My main point as it relates to Micah and the Cowboys still remains unchanged. I want this deal done. I want this deal done and over and paid, and I don't want the distraction of every day. Is Micah practicing? Is he not? That's boring. That's dumb. That hurts your team, hurts your player. Get this deal done, and let's move on to the next deal. Pay him. You got other contracts we're going to get to here in a little bit on the show. Get it done. Pay your superstar edge rusher that's off to a Hall of Fame start with his sack production, and let's focus on more important things. I do think this deal gets done. I just think it's annoying and stupid the way it's been handled. Again, what is your confidence level in the Cowboys getting that Micah Parsons deal done? Scale it for me from 1 to 10 in the comments section of today's show. Let's move to DaRon Bland and where things sit here. So Sauce Gardner got a massive, mega record-setting extension. The Jets were busy yesterday. Last 2 days, I should say. And I think that might have an impact on DaRon Bland. This one, for me, isn't as cut and dry as Tyler Smith and Micah Parsons. Sauce Gardner narrowly beat out Derek Stingley, $30.1 million per year after $30 for Derek Stingley on a longer deal. So it's actually a bit more favorable for the Jets as far as I'm concerned. There's a big gap between 2 and 3. J.C. Horn got $25 million. There's a big gap between 5 and 6. Pat Surtain got 24. A.J. Terrell got 20.25. That's kind of sizable. And then you get to Trayvon Diggs is barely in the top 10 for now, which if they cut him, they wouldn't have paid him remotely close to 19.4 per year. So we'll see how things play out. But I want you guys, before we dive into this, to rank DaRon Bland among NFL corners. Because I am curious where you put him. I don't think I'm going to see a bunch of 1s and 2s and 3s and not that many 4s. Maybe some low-end top 10s or inside the top 10. Let me know in the comments of today's show. For me, and I think for the Cowboys and Bland too, a potential DaRon Bland extension is kind of complicated. I don't think he's the same level of Sauce Gardner, of Derek Stingley. But the longer you wait, the more expensive it gets because the salary cap goes up, like Micah Parsons alluded to either. I do think that DaRon Bland is a really good player, though. He's awesome at what he does. I think he's the best corner on this team. But he's coming off an injury. He's coming off a not as good season. The projected franchise tag right now for next season is $21.76 million for a corner. I think that's probably a good floor for DaRon Bland. Like, he either hits the open market or he gets tagged, and that sets the benchmark for what he's aiming for. That's still a big gap between him and J.C. Horn. That kind of puts him in that second tier now, or the third tier. The second tier between J.C. Horn and the Stingleys and the Gardners is still a pretty big gap. So specifically for the DaRon Bland deal, having not given the Cowboys any grace for other deals like the Micah Parsons one, etc., the Dak deal, the Lamb deal, I will offer a little bit more grace and be like, I get why that might be a bit more of a complicated contract. A little bit more on contracts in general to come, but if you want more free at Cowboys offseason updates, training camp coverage, we got you covered. Hit that sub button, youtube.com/@CowboysTV. One more note here on contracts. For Bland, he is not part of the athletes first grouping. So maybe that benefits Dallas a little bit because there might not be as bad blood between the Mulgeta and Todd Francis as the Cowboys, and maybe there's not as hardlining potentially going to go on. But the Cowboys in general have some deals to do. They have some expensive contracts to pay out. Obviously, Micah Parsons, Tyler Smith, I'm going to bet that one comes next year. We broke that down in depth on the show yesterday. DaRon Bland, you got less than a calendar year there. George Pickens is going to be a free agent here. Brandon Aubrey, part of Athletes First, just like Tyler Smith and George Pickens are going to be free agents. We'll do some Jake Ferguson conversation later this week. He is up for a new deal. Not all of those players will be the highest paid at their spot. I think Micah, Tyler Smith, and Brandon Aubrey are absolutely going to be, but those other contracts aren't necessarily going to be cheap. You might not want to pay all 6 players. You might want to pick between Pickens and a Ferguson, for example. So we'll see how things play out for the Cowboys in contracts. But if they operate with urgency and proactivity, you might get a discount and you might save money in the long run.